The brain is powerful and full of many complex structures, as you can see on the left side of the screen. Today, we're going to talk through 5 key techniques used to study and treat all these complex areas of the brain, including EEG, MRI, TMS, and TDCS. First is electroencephalography. In this assessment, electrodes are placed in a spiderweb formation along the person's scalp, and these electrodes are in charge of picking up electronic activity happening within the brain. If an area is active, that electrode will pick it up and then transfer it into the recorder. The recorder eventually spits out a record that looks a little something like the crazy line graph you see on the right. Each line represents the waves emitted by that area of the brain. The waves indicate how active the brain is at that moment. Beta waves indicate active thinking, while alpha waves are linked to relaxation. We use this to understand abnormalities and learn more about brain function. You might have heard that humans only use 10% of our brains. This is completely false and has been proved wrong by EEGs. We've learned that in all areas of a properly functioning brain, they're active. In researching social media addiction, we could use EEG machines to help us track the attention levels of individuals with this kind of addiction. We could use the record to track their brain activities and analyze what types of waves we see when they're engaging and not engaging with social media. Next, we have magnetic resonance imaging, including MRI and fMRI. In both of these, an individual is placed within a giant MRI scanner, that big cylindrical tube you can see on the left. Inside the scanner is a giant magnet. We create this magnetic field which interacts with the protons within the individual's body. Protons of various tissue types behave differently and therefore look different on the recording computer. The difference between the MRI and the fMRI is that the MRI is used for looking at just anatomical differences. As you can see, we've got this one grayscale photo of just pure anatomy. fMRI is functional, and it's focused on the blood flow changes during target stimuli. When we measure blood flow changes, we can see which areas of the brain are active during stimuli or tasks. Red and orange in this case means that those areas are active. Both MRI and fMRI are very accurate when it comes to spatial resolution. They show a very distinct photo and have millimeter kind of accuracy in their depictions. But their weakness is temporal resolution. Even in fMRIs, the timing of the brain response is delayed. fMRIs were used a lot in social media addiction, especially to discover dysfunctions within the dopaminergic systems under social media and other addictions. Participants often underwent fMRI tests while engaging in social media. If we further this research, we could find the most problematic regions of the brain and then therefore find better treatments for this kind of behavioral addiction. Now let's talk about transcranial magnetic stimulation. Unlike the previous 3 that we've discussed, this is a treatment, not an exam. In this treatment, an individual sits in a chair and a coil is placed on their scalp, as you can see on the image on the right side of the screen, and that coil then emits a magnetic field. The magnetic fields work by either suppressing or heightening neuronal activity, weakening or strengthening those action potentials linking neurons. Generally, these stimulation sessions last between 20 and 30 minutes. Right now, TMS is primarily used to treat depression, and we've seen great success. And evidence also suggests that it could help individuals with PTSD, OCD, and even migraines. There's very little research about TMS and social media addiction, but I think with the success that it has in the prefrontal cortex, it could be used to suppress attention and impulsivity of those with social media addiction. Lastly, we've got transcranial direct current stimulation. This is different from our last technique because instead of magnetic pulses, TDCS releases an electrical current. Once again, we place electrodes strategically along the brain, and electricity is emitted at a very low intensity current. This current can either increase or decrease neuronal excitability, potentially improving cognitive function. Evidence shows that TDCS is good for people with depression or chronic pain. Very little evidence shows anything about social media addiction, but given the success it has in suppressing the prefrontal cortex, I believe that we could use TDCS to reduce cravings and impulsive behaviors in individuals with social media addiction.